Okay, perfect. Let's jump right into this. We're going to create a new project, so you can do it by clicking this button or by going File, New Project, and make sure that it's a Java application, and then name it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it SimpleGUI, minus the space. And so it gives you this auto-created project file. I like to delete all the comments because I don't see a need for them. One of them's basically just telling you how to change this auto-generated file. One of them is just saying something about args commands and like the main method, and then the other one is just giving you credit for creating this file. So I like to delete those, and for some reason I'm getting this package SimpleGUI, but it's staying as a comment. Not sure what it's doing, but we're just going to create another class by going New, Java class, and we're going to call this class DisplayGUI. So this file is going to be the file that we create the GUI within, and then the SimpleGUI.java with the main method is going to be the one that we use to run the GUI and pretty much make it so that it shows on our screen. So, yeah. So now what we're going to do is we're going to import some packages. So the first one we're going to import is java.auth, and we're going to import all of it by doing java.auth.*, semicolon. And then the second one we're going to import is java.swing. So these are the two imports we're going to be using to make this application and this GUI so that it actually shows up. There's some functions within it that we need to use, like buttons and stuff, so we're going to initialize those buttons right now. But first we need to extend JFrame so that this file is compatible with the GUI and all the buttons and yada yada yada. So we're going to create a J label and call it label. Create a J text field, call it text field, and then the final one we're going to initialize or declare is J button, and we're going to call it button. These are the three things that we're going to show on the screen. So we're going to use a label, text field, and a button. Now we got to create a public display GUI. This is so that the program knows what to run, and we can run it from the SimpleGUI using the SimpleGUI file. Inside of this, we're going to go this.initComponents, and this is going to be a method that we're going to create and declare all of the variables we already declared earlier. So we're going to initialize them now. So we're going to go public void init components. Make sure you have this spelled correctly, otherwise you will continue to get an error like I did because I didn't spell it correctly at first. Don't worry, fix it, make corrections, yeah. You can also double click, copy it, and then paste it if you're lazy, like me, like I just did. But yeah, so now we're going to get into initializing these variables. Awesome. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start setting up the environment. So what we need to do is we need to set up an operation so that it closes and that it stops the thread of the application when we are done, so it's not constantly running in the background. So how we're going to do this is going to go this.set default close operation windows.constant, no, correction, sorry, not windows dot, windows constant dot exit on close. Make sure that you have this spelled correctly, otherwise you'll get an error and it'll say create a class, blah 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 blah. And it's just because you're spelling it wrong. I know I spelled it wrong, and I forgot an S on the end. So now that we're done that, perfect. Okay, so now what we got to do is we got to go this.set.minimum size. We're going to set the minimum size of the application because we don't want it too big, but we don't want it too small. So we want to set size so that nobody can put it smaller than that, and so that it opens up at that correct size of application. So I'm going to go New, Dimensions, 600 by 400. This is a decently sized application. This is the one that I'm using for my online cabs one, which I will do a preview of at a later date. But now we got to set the variable, or like initialize the variable. So we're going to go this.label equals new JLabel, then this.label.setText parentheses, and inside the parentheses quotes bracket or quotes label. You can do this the exact same way for the JText field and the JButton. So pause your video now and go try that. Awesome. So now that you have that done, what we're going to do is we're going to create a content pane to host or put all of these buttons on so they're not sprawled all over the place and in different content panes and whatnot. So we're going to go container main display pane equals this dot get content pane, and then on the next line we're going to go main display pane dot set layout, and then inside the parentheses we're going to go new grid bag layout. We're going to be using grid bag layout and grid bag constraints to position and create these buttons and these elements for the GUI. So you're going to go down, you're going to go grid bag constraints equals C, and then to declare it, make sure you have it spelt properly. I make a lot of errors in my typing and my spelling, so it can create problems, but generally just try and make sure that it's right. Go C equals new grid bag constraints. You always want to make a new one. If you don't, you're going to have slight bugs about like positions of it and whatnot. I find it easier to just create new ones every single time. And now we're going to start positioning it. So we're going to go c.gridx equals 0. This is, pretend your application is broken up into grids. The x is going to be where it's located on the x-axis. The y is where it's going to be located on the y. The grid width is how wide it's going to be, so whether it takes up 2 grid spaces on the x-axis or 2 on the y-axis. And then you're going to go do the same for height, and then you're going to add it to the main display pane by going main display pane dot add brackets, and inside of here you're going to choose what you're going to add. So I'm doing this dot label at C. C is the position or the grid to which it is at. At this point, you can add the other two, the text field and the button, making sure that the grid X and Y are not overlapping each other, so then you're not blocking anything out. At this point, we're going to go over to the SimpleGUI as the last step and set it up so that we can run it from here and that it will display it. So we're going to go display GUI, which is the name of the other file, dgui equals new display GUI, creating a new file. Don't forget the parentheses, because I tend to forget those when I'm creating a new display GUI and like trying to display it. You're going to go dgui.set visible. Inside the parentheses, you're going to type in true. So this will set it so that you are able to see it. Now we're all done. Now it's just a matter of getting it so that the buttons, the labels, and all of that are placed in the right position to where you want them. I hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe, and check out next week for the next tutorial. Enjoy.